Hi friends, my name is Harpal and welcome to our channel Full Tech Stack. This is part 3 of the video series Host a Static Website with Minimal or Zero Cost. In the first video, we have learned how to publish our static website with Azure Blob Storage Service. Then in second video, we have learned how to create CI/CD pipeline for website maintained at GitHub repository. In this video, we will learn how to publish our static website or web app on Azure Static Web App Service. So let's start it. So in this video, we will go through these steps. First, I will introduce what is static web app and its pricing. Then I will create some demo. Then we will learn some Azure functions. Then we will see how the Azure functions we can integrate it with our uh, static web app. The prerequisites we have to have one Azure account. So what is static web app? And static web app is a service that automatically build and deploy full stack web apps to Azure from the code repository. So static web app is a service that automatically has CI/CD pipeline, and it has some type of API that we can integrate with the static website, and these API works with the Azure functions. So these are the features. So with the static web app, we get free web hosting. We have two tier. We will see one is the free and one is the standard. So we will see how can we host our application with the free tier. Then it has integrated API. So it's not only the static web app. We can create API in the same repository with the type of function, and we can publish or we can check in the static web app and Azure function in the same repository. And third, we will have uh, DevOps integration, means we will not need any type of extra, we will not need any CI/CD pipeline that we need to apart from web app service. Then web app also provide free SSL certificates. So that's a good point. Then web apps also provide custom domains, and there are also authentication providers with the integration of web app. And and Azure Web Apps also provide some staging environments. So if you create a pull request and want to test it before merge into the main branch, so Azure Web App provides a preview link. On that you can test your application, and if you feel it's good, then only you can merge into the main app. So this is the demo. So we have one rating app. In the in this rating app, uh, we will provide some rating, and we will see the result in our rating app. So this has one UI, and we have two Azure functions, that is one for getting the rating and the other one for saving the rating, and these ratings get saved in a rating table, that is in table storage. So we will all see the pricing of all this, and we will look how we can minimize the cost. So before that, let's see the commands and extensions we need. So for uh, for checking on the local environment, for run our application on local, we have to install these packages. One is Azure Static Web App CLI and Azure Functions Core Tools. And to start our application, the static web app, we will execute this command. And and extension point, we will need static web app in our VS Code extension. So let's first see what we need to going to create. So this is the application we will create in this demo. So when we will click on, suppose I'm giving it rating 5, so it will save this rating into the Azure table, and then it will get it, and as you see, count gone 3. So let's first see the pricing. So Azure Web App, static web apps comes with two tier. One is free and standard. So uh, the free is more than enough. So we can, as it is said, for personal projects and for hobbies, it's free. So in free tier, we will get these things, like we will get custom domains, bandwidth, included bandwidth, and SSL free, and we will have service denied authentication and storage capacity, that is zero point 0.5 GB or 0.25 GB per app. So it's enough to host a static website. So let's see now what is the cost of Azure Table. So in table storage also, it's most most highest version have 9 rupees per GB. So it's also very minimum. So and for Azure uh, functions, these are the serverless, so these are not all, these also not going to be cost very high, because serverless compute costs only when they get executed. So Azure function, when it will get executed, that will make a cost. So that's is very minimum. So let's see our application. So guys, I have already created the demo. So let's see, in this demo, I have one SRC folder, and this is one index HTML. So index HTML, we have our header, and then we have the left side and the result on the right side. So, and I have another app.js that says set rating and get rating method. So that's all from the UI side, and we will now see how we will uh, host this on the Azure Web App. So we need one extension. So I have already this static web apps. Otherwise, you can download and install it from a static web app. You need to install this extension, and when you will install it, just press F1. Then Azure Static Web Apps, create static web app. So you have to push all the code to the GitHub repository for this. So when it comes, name the static web app. I am putting it the same. Then you select the region where you want to host, and you need to select the framework. Static web apps comes with the most frequently used frameworks. So Angular, React, Vue.js. So for this demo, we are we are not using any framework, and we are using custom. Then we will tell it where is the source code. So we have our src folder. We will put it as in src. Then it will ask what is the build folder. So as in Angular or React, when we run command npm build prod, it goes to the build folder. So for our application, we have app.js and index.html in the src folder. So we will remove it the same space. So then we will create, when we will make enter, then it will create one static web app with the Azure account, that is already I am logged in this VS Code. So I'm not going to make enter because I already have this web app in my Azure account. So next we have Azure Functions. So till till now we have created our UI. We have created this and host on the uh, Azure Static Web App. So before that, I am showing the how it looks like. So in Azure portal, when you will go to the app, you will see this is the rating app application, and this has a preview URL, so you can check the app on this URL, and it have configuration. So for suppose you are using Azure tables, so you will need to connect the Azure table with the Azure function. So you will need any type of connection string or some kind of secret keys or things. So in configuration we can set that application insight you can utilize whenever the user clicks or whenever the you can log those things. In custom domains we have our preview URL, so we need to map this URL with our domain. So you can add a custom domain and the domain name you have purchased, and then it will you will click next, then it will validate, and it may take 48 hours to map the preview URL with your domain URL. Then we have functions. So for this application we have two functions. So this is get rating function and this is save rating function, and lots of these things. So let's switch to a function. So when you done your UI part, you will add an API. So you did not need to make a folder or create things. You will just go to your extension and click on the create HTTP function. So whenever you click HTTP function, it will ask you what is the name of the trigger. So let me just say get rating, and when you will enter it will create the API folder in your repository, and in API folder it will create the get rating API means Azure function. So you will see we have an Azure function, and here for get API, we are getting the table storage and saving it in variable result, and we have rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are manipulating this and getting the count and returning the result. So this is HTTP trigger function and have binding with table storage. So let's see its binding. So we have HTTP trigger, and Azure functions have two types of binding. That's its direction in or out. So we have get request or post request. So here we are creating the indirection binding to get data from the table storage. We have table name, table binding. So we are using this table binding to get the bindings, and we have connection string. So here is the key of the connection string. We can set that set that in our configuration with the same key. Then we have HTTP out. So when we will make request on this function, it will get some data and return some data, and in between it will get data from the table storage. So next function, we have just seen get rating function. So we have another function, save rating. In the save rating, we have, this is also HTTP triggered, and in static web app we can have HTTP trigger Azure function. So if we see here, we are, when the request comes to that function, it will create some table binding and will uh, create an object and will push into the table binding Azure table storage. So we are partition and row key are the two things we have to provide to save any row in the Azure table storage. So, and if we see the function definition, so we have HTTP trigger and we have HTTP as an output, and in between of this we are using out type binding to save data into the Azure table. So that's all from the function side. Now to check our application on local. To check our application on local, we can utilize the given command y Azure Static Web App. So we can copy this and SWA Static Web App start the folder that have the client application and API location, the folder name that have the API. So when we will run this, it will create an URL, then we can check this one locally. So we have not provided connection string on local, so that's why we are not seeing any numbers here, and we are now serving it from locally. And if we change something, suppose we have changed version 1 and just save it, so we will see version 1 gets reflected here. So now our application has published on this URL, and this has not any version 1. So let's push this code to our repository. Just save it, and when we will push these, this automatically runs the CI/CD pipeline and publish on this URL. So let's see how the things is going on. So we will go to the Azure portal and rating app. In rating app, we can see the actions, GitHub actions, and we can see uh, this is being updated and this is now currently running. In Azure Actions, we can also see on repository, we can go actions and just see this is being running. Let's wait for 1 minute. So this is completed, and we can check if that's been deployed or not. So just refresh the URL, and yes, the automatic pipeline runs and we can see the changes here. Just see our API is working. So in rating 1 we have only count 1, just count make rating 2, so we have got rating 2, and these are saving in database, we can check it. So just copy it and just make it, just open is, just run this. Yes, these are the same. We have tested it on cross browser. So that's it. And as we can see, it's very good to host our static web app on static web app service provided by Azure, and very it will cost very minimum or with zero cost. So yeah. So thanks for watching. Thank you.